Greetings from Sweden and welcome to Everyday Mystic, an aid to your liberation. My name is David, and first I want to wish you a happy new year. Now, as you've seen, I've been posting a lot less videos lately. Plus, I've been taking a long break from my videos altogether. So I thought this could be a good topic to start with. Namely, I would call it the stripping away phase of our spiritual awakening, where we more acquire a definiteness of purpose instead of being all over the place. Some of you may not at all have this problem. Some may have even the opposite problem, that you don't know what to do at all. But for me, I've been here, there and everywhere. And now I'm going to scale it down to what is essential. I'm going to scale it down to what truly interests me, what truly matters to me, and what I truly understand something about. Instead of trying to be this, how should you call it, jack of all trades of spirituality. That is not my job, and I don't think that it's anyone else's job really either. So from now on, I'm going to post videos on Thursdays and Sundays. And also, I'm going to post an occasional bonus video with some more instructional material, and also occasionally a video on the place that we can speak more freely on and that rhymes with humble. So, letting go of everything that isn't truly important. So what is it that I truly do know something about? Well, it can be boiled down to God and the human condition. Now, of course, I'm not pretending that I know everything about either God or the human condition, but I truly believe that I have a valuable perspective to offer when it comes to this. When it comes to God, I do believe that I truly have a relationship with God. I don't know what this actually means on every level, but this is also a strength, I think. I know that God is real, that is one thing. But I don't actually exactly know who God is, and therefore I have no real interest in convincing anyone of anything, really, because I don't know if you have to believe in God or not. I don't know really if this is important. I just know that God exists, and that probably since God exists, it will also enrich people's lives to believe in God, to seek God. But is this ultimately necessary? I don't know. As far as the human condition goes, what I am noticing more and more as my journey progresses is that there are so many things that are hidden in plain sight. One of these things that I want to talk a little bit about is, just to give an example, is how thoughts work. Because, you see, when it comes to thoughts, we assume, in our normal condition at least before we start waking up, that we more or less are our thoughts. We don't reflect consciously about the fact that we cannot stop thinking. And we also really don't know what is happening when thoughts just flood our minds. But it has to do with us going unconscious, and then these automatic thought patterns start. Think about this for a moment and what it means, because thoughts are there all of the time and they affect everything that we do, everything we say. and yet we have so little understanding of how they really operate. And another thing is that we tend to attach meanings to events and situations, etc. Meanings that are not really there. And this is something that I'm actually starting to analyze more when it comes to my own experience. Because when I ask myself, what do I truly know about a lot of things, there are a lot of belief structures that start to fall apart. I start to see more and more the emptiness behind a lot of thought structures that I have built up inside of my head. Some things I believe are important to preserve. As I've talked about many other times on this channel, I truly believe that there was something unique about Jesus. But what does this actually mean? Do I know what it means that Jesus said that he was the Son of God? Do I understand the linguistic context that this was said in, the historical context that this was said in? I think these are very important questions to ask ourselves. And I think that when people are very sure of themselves when it comes to these questions, it is a very telltale sign that they have not really reflected consciously about this. And usually and very often people come out and just say, oh, you have to believe this, or you will burn in hell for all eternity, or something like that. Have you really consciously thought about these matters when you say something like that? And furthermore, do you think that anyone feels that they have any reason to listen to what you have to say when you just blurt out 2 lines in a comment and expect people to just listen to you? This is not how a serious discussion works. So, think consciously about what you really can objectively say about your reality, about your experiences, about history, about everything that comes with being a human on this planet. When I do this, a lot of things just start to fall away. It doesn't mean that I say that they are unimportant. It just means that there are a lot fewer things that I know that I can say anything for sure about. There are a lot of faulty logic in how we approach the world. Logic like, if this, then this must be the case. But often the connection isn't really there. So let's go back a little to this idea about hell. It's something that I want to approach more thoroughly in a whole video. But let's just talk a little bit about this. Because a lot of people say that, oh, God is not just perfect love. God is also perfectly just. So therefore God has no choice but to place people in hell. And I'm not saying that this is one way or another. I'm just saying that this is the epitome of faulty reasoning. Because one thing does not follow from the other logically. If you think that it does, you haven't really thought through it, and you don't really understand logic at all. It's just faulty reasoning. So, again, I'm not saying that things are one way or another. I'm just saying that if you want to deliver a solid argument for why hell would be necessary, you have to do a much better job than this. This is not to take the matter seriously, and it's not to deliver a serious argument. So, next. We live in this 3D reality, and I truly believe that there is something to this whole spiritual awakening concept about going from 3D to 5D, because I am experiencing it myself in my own life, how something very real is shifting, and that it has something to do with how my perception of things shift, and how I am shifting from being out there in the 3D reality to a whole world waking up inside of me. And I know a lot of other people are sensing and going through this as well. So this is something that I need to investigate further, and I don't think that I can anymore afford to be in a lot of fear about should I do this, is this right or wrong? No. I have to follow this line and see where it leads. And this also means that I have to take some risks with it. And one very important aspect of this is that we tend to attach a lot of importance to things out in the 3D reality. We need to reach our goals, we have desires for this and that. And I truly believe this also because this is something that I'm feeling more and more drawn to, that we need essentially to die from this. This is a moving away from being caught up in the past regrets, mistakes, and also being caught up in desires and fears about the future. So we instead just bring our attention, our consciousness back into the present moment, because this is where the magic happens, when we realize that things don't have to be a certain way. And ultimately, there is really nothing to be worried about, nothing to be fearful about. And when we start to act from this open place instead of wanting things to be a different way from what they are, then things will really begin to change for us. Because at our absolute deepest level, we are one with God. Our soul is not just attached to this body. In essence, our soul is infinite, and it's also immortal. And we are just living out this little tiny blip of existence in this 3D reality. It doesn't mean that it is unimportant. Something very big is happening on the planet, this spiritual awakening that is a global event. I don't think anyone exactly knows what it means, just that after this period in time is over, nothing will be the same anymore. And sure, we see a lot of chaos and turmoil on the outside. I think that this is just the way that it should be. And the more we get caught up in this chaos and turmoil on the outside and our fears about it, the more we will suffer. But there also will be, I'm very confident, unless we die, of course, physically, and then we'll see what happens after that. But unless we do that, there will be a breaking point somewhere down the line where we truly let go of everything on the outside and instead turn toward the light on the inside, turn toward our connection with God, our oneness with God, that, as I said, is at our core. So this means that we detach from the outcomes in the outside world. We detach to all of the importance that we have priorly attached to what is happening on the outside. This does not mean indifference. This is actually the opposite of indifference, because when we are no longer attached to a certain outcome, we can, from a more alive, vibrant place, directly start to engage with life. You have to experience this for yourself to see it. I am in no way perfect at this, but I am more and more starting to see that this is the way to go. This does not mean that we become passive and stop acting in the world, but we start to focus, which brings back us to the theme of this video. It brings back the focus to what is truly important, and it allows us to act in the world instead of reacting in predetermined patterns of behavior that has been instilled in us through faulty programming from society, from our peer groups, from our parents, etc. We need to learn a completely new, more free, more liberated way of functioning in the world. But I also, as I said, see that there are so many people out there that speak so much with confidence. And I actually would wish that I had more of this confidence when I spoke. But the thing is that when I look out into the world, when I analyze my own condition, and I think this is actually a very important point, that when I look at my own way of functioning, my own mind's way of functioning, and I see all of the capacities that we have inside of ourselves for self-deception, at the core it's really about what drives us. And I think that it can actually be boiled down to love or fear, because some emotions will inevitably drive us into certain areas. And I don't want to be fearful anymore. That is a very important point. I think that ultimately we need to choose to be driven by love and not fear. Because human beings are really not as rational as we would like to be. We find all of these elaborate explanations about why we believe certain things, why we think certain things, and so on. But it can be boiled down to very much more basic forces that drive us. Because if you look at argumentation for a little while, you will after a while notice that it's very easy to deliver a solid argument for basically everything, for totally opposite ideas. If you are just good enough at arguing, if you found enough arguments for your position. So this casts a lot more doubt about what we can actually believe is true. In a sense, I believe that mathematics and pure logic are some of the most exact sciences in the world. And then we just move more and more into uncertainty the further we get away from this. And now, in the point that we are in, I think that we need to truly let go of this certainty. We cannot just use our minds, our thoughts, etc. to reach truth. We will inevitably find ourselves in a lot of wrongful, faulty thinking. And I believe truly that this is something that we are more and more letting go of. But the more we also want to cling on to our old thought structures, instead of just surrendering to this higher, this uncertainty that is on the other side of this, the more we will also suffer, the more confusion we will encounter in the process. The more you analyze your condition, the more you analyze what it means to be human, especially in the very special times that we are living in, the more you will see for yourself that this is the case. And I truly believe that in the end of this, there is this surrender to love, to acceptance, also letting go of fears, of worries, of outcomes, of desires. These are all mind sicknesses. And actually it is quite interesting to look at how David Hawkins talks about this in his scale of consciousness, because there is a very definite tipping point between these lower emotions and what they drive us towards, and then we come to neutrality, and above neutrality we have acceptance, willingness, and so on. There are very definite lower and higher emotions that drive us, and they will cause us to experience very different realities. We don't have to go into the realm of metaphysics to see this at all, actually, because we can see very clearly that certain emotions will drive us into certain thoughts and certain actions and certain words, which will inevitably also give us a certain reality. This is also one of these things that is hidden in plain sight. Certain emotions cause us to act and speak in certain ways, and the world outside of ourselves will respond accordingly. And I really believe that this is the end goal. This surrender, this letting go of all of this negative baggage, and learning that God really loves us unconditionally. And then when we learn what this truly means in every way, we will also be much more capable of acting out this love in the world around us. And when we act out this love without any of this force that many people confuse God's love to be, that we have to force God's love down someone's throat. This is, of course, when you think about it, rather silly. It's about us as individuals and our actions into the world, and not what we make other people to do or be. And I think this is such an important shift, to really take it back to ourselves, how we act in the world, our connection with God, and then act from this place. And when we know this, it should come naturally that we also always want to do our best. This our best means very different things for different people, and it's not always easy to be human. We will make mistakes, and that is okay. We will act in a way that is not in alignment with this higher good, because we have all of this faulty programming that I just mentioned. So it's not easy being human. We need to be accepting and forgiving towards ourselves, but also always strive to really live out God's unconditional love out into the world. And that's it for today. If you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and share the video on social media and other places. All of it helps the channel to grow. And check out my other channel on that place that rhymes with humble. And also check out the description and the comment section for other things that me and my wife are doing. And also, if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so YouTube always notifies you of new videos. And other than that, just sincerely thank you for your time.